Ladies and gentlemen, Geri Petito.
I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
When you don't know just what to do,
Just what to do, just what to do.
if what you're feeling is really true,
Is it really true? Is it really true?
just keep your ideas safe and sound.
Safe and sound, safe and sound.
That's exactly how change is found.
Change is found, change is found. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Geri Petito Show. Everyone and anyone who knows me knows I am the author of I'm Not an Addict, I'm Just an Ass. I'd rather be a smartass than a dumbass. Because, guys, almost 34 years ago, I was a dumbass. But today, 34 years later, through the grace of God, I can honestly say now I'm a smartass. Yes, the word ass is in the Bible at least 40 times.
Is that what I'm allowed to say?
And it means donkey, and that's what I was. All right, so, guys, listen. I'm a nutritional health coach. I'm a recovery coach. I'm here to help you. I know a lot of people out there are struggling, okay? So all my services to you are free. Please, please reach out. If you think my book can help someone, because I sure do, you can go right to Simon & Schuster's bookstore, Archway Publishing, Barnes & Noble's, BAM, Amazon, and go to my website, www.geripetito.com. My book is now on audio, and you can purchase it from my website. My producer here, Ruben, from Iron Horse Films and Hamilton Radio, is now putting books to audio. Simon & Schuster wanted to do mine, but they wanted to use someone else's voice. I wasn't going to have that. All right, this is my story. It had to be me reading it. Okay, so if you're interested in getting your book put to audio, reach out to me as well. Now, listen. If you truly, truly, truly cannot afford my book, please reach out to me about that as well. I want to mention just one of my sponsors right now. I want to mention Johnny Bishop, okay? He's a singer, he's a songwriter, host of the Entertainment Luncheon South, a nonprofit network created for the creative. Facebook group page, Entertainment Luncheon South. He's also the partner in the Joey D and Johnny B Rock and Oldies band. I want to give a shout out to him and his wife Lenny because they put this luncheon on once a month. It's by invite only. And if you tell them you know me, they might let you in. It's $20. You get a great lunch and you get incredible entertainment. And they don't keep a penny of it. He promotes the crap out of me and all of us. He's amazing. So I just want to say thank you to you and Lenny again. I love both of you. So now, I want to introduce my really cool guest. All right? I'm going to be making fun of him a lot today. Mike Buhler, say hello.
How you doing, everybody?
Did I
Geri,
say...
thanks for having me here. I appreciate that. Yeah.
I'm glad you came. Did I say your name properly?
Just like Ferris, spelled differently.
Okay, there you go. So... why is he here? I don't know, okay? I met this guy. He was working part-time at a liquor store in Robbinsville.
Actually, you were shocked at the fact that I was hit by a drunk driver and was working in a liquor store.
Okay, there you go. Say that louder. Tell everybody.
A couple years ago, I was hit by a drunk driver, and I was injured pretty bad. It took a couple of careers away from me, one I was about to start and one I had been involved in for 25 years. I now drive a school bus, and it was during the summertime. We had downtime. So I was working as a clerk in a liquor store, and you would come in to purchase things for your brother.
That's right,
what
for
it was.
gifts.
Yeah.
He was giving gifts out. Yep.
And I don't know whether you had recognized me or something, but somehow the conversation started, and the story about the drunk driver happened. Like you're working in a liquor store. Like, you can't blame the liquor for the accident. You don't.
Okay.
You know, I don't blame the fork for making me fat.
Okay.
So you know what I mean. So it's It was a living. It was just something to do during the summertime, and there were good people, and then you have the opportunity to run into people like you.
So it was so cool because no one in my family anymore drinks, okay? I never drank, but no one in my family drinks. My brother has a painting company, and he buys gifts for people in bulk, all right?
Yeah, that was a lot.
So I go in, and they didn't know where his stuff was. So I had to call my brother.
Well, I didn't know where it was because I
Okay.
was brand new.
He was brand new, and it was like a ton. And
Yeah.
so finally, they had it somewhere, and they brought it out and put it in my truck, and we started talking.
Yeah.
And when he said that to me, I was like, and you're working at a liquor store, and cracked up.
Yeah.
So that's what started this craziness. And then
My
he was
life of
telling,
irony, right?
and then he was telling me you're also on radio.
Well, we have a YouTube channel. Basically, it was a extremely pro Donald Trump
Yeah.
conservative show. To be honest with you, if I can get into it
Get
for a moment,
into it.
I would
I want
appreciate
you
it.
to.
The name of the show is Bellowheart,
Yes.
featuring Reverend Ferris. That would be me.
That's him.
Yeah, the
Go
cursing
ahead.
minister,
The cursing minister. Go
which
ahead.
I've been told to watch my mouth, and I'm trying. I promise.
He has to watch it.
Right. I was always a very proud American. You've got you've got this not only a right but an obligation to really go out there and vote and have your voice heard no matter what.
That's right.
Whether this is the medium or whether
That's
you're out
right.
there talking to a friend. And the last number of years, I've been so disenchanted with the election process a couple years ago.
Okay. Yes.
And all that kind of stuff. That I didn't even, when I moved down here, I never even registered to vote. And a very good friend of mine that I have known since middle school really got on my case. And he had known about my background in different radio and entertainment and things like this. And he asked me to be a part of his show, and then it just became more and more common. Every Sunday, we were broadcasting right out of his living room. We'd have football on in the one room and broadcasting in the other one. And he had me so fired up for this election that, and needless to say, I'm as happy as they come right now. I'll tell you.
Yep. Me too.
You know, this smile hasn't left my face in 48 hours. Actually, 77 days is more
Okay.
like it, you know. And not that I've been counting, but I've been just so ecstatic that I just, the way things are trending now, I feel like it's starting to get back to the normal, and
We have hope.
and I could never be happier.
Me too.
Yeah.
So I want to touch base on that real quick. So my granddaughter is 9, my grandson is 23,
Okay.
and my daughter is 43. And she had a Trump party at her house Sunday, or Friday.
Okay.
And I have photos of my granddaughter wearing the hat, her little girlfriend wearing the hat, and them cheering and all that. I mean, come on.
I'm just upset
Okay.
I wasn't invited.
I wasn't invited. Listen, I wasn't invited. It was just they were having a blast, and I was so excited and proud and happy.
Yeah, it's been. I can't even put it into words. Like,
Okay.
you know, for somebody who talks on a podcast, for me to be at a loss for words is
Okay.
ridiculous. You know, so
So,
it's
listen.
been could not wipe the smile off my face for anything right now.
Yep.
You know?
I knew, and I'm sure you did as well, that when that bullet did not kill him, but it touched his ear, God did that for a reason, to save his life, to put him in office, and
Yeah.
here he is.
Yeah,
So
yeah, it's a terrifying thought about everything that had to go wrong, and that one little move
Okay.
go right.
that's right.
You know,
Okay?
and yeah, our creator's the only one you can thank for that
That's
one.
right.
'Cause
That's
I
right.
don't believe in coincidence.
So now, all right. Tell us a little bit more about your background and what brought you to radio and what's happening now and what you do. You're also a bus driver, right?
Oh yeah, well I'm a retired funeral director.
Okay.
I spent the better part of 25 years as a funeral director. I took a break for a while and moved down south. You know, got into sales, worked. For
Where
Harley
were you a
Davidson.
funeral director? Because I had something to do with that.
I started in Red Bank.
Okay.
Okay, moved to Keyport, where I spent a majority of my career. I still keep very good contact with these people as well. I think one of the reasons I've grown my hair out and my beard out and everything is so they can't ask me to go back anytime soon right now. But it's a great family that I worked for. I had left them, and I went into the Harrison area, which
Okay.
completely changes the dynamic of what you're doing at that point. And then I moved down south for about a decade.
Okay.
And I needed a change of pace. I had lost my father, and I just really needed to get away for a while.
Okay.
And I did, and I lived down in. I started in the Chapel Hill area, then went over to the Charlotte area for a while, and I came back about 7 years ago. to a mother that's not doing well.
Sorry to hear that.
Well, her situation is it's a very, very long goodbye, but I'll take every moment of it that I can.
Can
So
I
any moment of
can I ask what's happening?
20 plus years ago, she had what's called a frontal lobe meningioma, and she had a full craniotomy, and the tumor was taken out. But because of the surgery, she's had a seizure disorder that's knocked her cognizance down on a level that would make you almost like an Alzheimer's patient.
My dad passed away of Alzheimer's.
Yeah, it's a terrible way for somebody to go. It is, like I said, the only way to put it into words. It's a long goodbye, but
It's
you
horrible.
cherish every
Yes.
moment that you have.
Yes.
Every moment. So like every time a holiday passes, and the family leaves, you just pray that it's not the last one you're gonna have. You know,
Where is she living?
she's in a nursing facility in
Okay,
Hazlitt
okay,
now.
okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, I don't get the chance to see her as much as
Okay.
I would like to, because it is an hour away.
Yeah.
And my life is now in the Mercer County area, and no excuse. I mean, you still need to
You
see.
have to see her, but
I
she's
still,
doing well. at
as
least,
long as she
yeah.
doesn't turn the ringer off on her phone, I still speak to her
That's
a couple
right.
times a day. So,
And does she know it's you?
yes, yeah, she does.
Okay.
It's more of her level of the quote unquote dementia is more of an imaginary thing. She thinks things are going on that aren't.
Yes.
Okay, she could tell you everything that happened to her in Brooklyn in
That's right.
1960.
That's
You know
right.
what I mean? Everything she could tell you everything about her childhood, high school, when she different jobs that she worked. She couldn't tell you what she had for breakfast this morning.
That's right.
Yeah.
And music. Do you play music for her from back then? You should.
As much as we can.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
as big. Between her and her father, the reasons I became a musician in the first place.
Okay.
Without their push, I mean, I
Play
don't know
her
where-
music. Yeah.
as much as we can. As a
Yeah.
matter of fact, she in different aspects of the day, they have different levels of entertainment at this place, and she hates bingo. She's so tired of bingo.
I hate it too.
Right? But when they do trivia, because it's something from the past, nobody gets a word in edgewise.
Okay.
She's as sharp as a tack that
That's
way.
beautiful.
So it's nice.
That's beautiful.
When she speaks about things from the past, it's one of those things like who is that, Payne Weber, where when Payne Weber speaks, you listen or whatever. Like you just sit down and you listen. It's like gathering around a fire and just listening to what she has to say. It's pretty neat.
All right. So now, listen. Let's slap this guy silly. Okay.
boy.
He's a cursing minister. What the heck? Tell us.
Like I said, what's that quote right
Speechless.
there? Where it says right there, it says, "No matter what, I'm still me."
Yeah, you're
just
speechless.
because I have a title in front of my name isn't going to change me. All right. A lot of people they think about. I mean, think about church people. Okay, what is church? They're not a bunch of fantastic people sitting in pews.
Absolutely.
They're
not.
a bunch of broken people that know they're broken, and that's why they're there.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's like I can't. And I'm tired of making other people happy all the time. I can't watch myself I'll do it for the time being right now.
That's right.
For now, for you.
I want to share something with you.
Sure.
In Philly, PA, I forget, Belmont Avenue, maybe. Oh wait, what was it? Not the Philmont Avenue.
Okay.
All right. So Calvary Chapel.
If it's not one of the
Okay, all
stadiums in Philadelphia, I don't know what it
Okay.
is. Yeah.
So the pastor there actually went to Israel with the pastor in 1997 with my dad. All right. And I'll never forget this one particular day. So this church held probably over 1,500 people
Oh wow.
on Philmont Avenue, okay? Joe Foch is the pastor, and I believe he's still there. Now he's up in age.
Mhm.
And the coolest pastor I ever met in my life, as far as the church and what I'm going to share
Show
with
now.
you. Okay. So one Sunday, first of all, it held like 1,500 people, but it was always wall-to-wall people standing as well. They had 3 services on a Sunday. And he says, he stops what he's doing, and he would sit on a chair. And he would always wear jeans and a button-down Hawaiian T-shirt, collared shirt. That was his thing. And he stops the service and he says, listen, how many people were here first service? Half the church raises their hand. How many people were here the second service? Half the church. He says, can you just come to one service? Look at these poor people that have to stand. And he was right.
Yeah.
And then he says, everyone's welcome here. And he says, look at the front row. and there were a motorcycle gang sitting with little old ladies next to him.
Okay.
And he said, where else are you going to see that? And then there was a man dressed in drag all the way in the back of the church. And he said, stand up, sir. Nobody would sit near this man. He said, you are welcome at this church. Everyone is. And I'll just never forget that. And that, I was young, I was in my 30s when I went to that church back then and all that. And it was just amazing. But I respect, when people say, a lot of people say this, I left God because of the church people, okay?
Okay.
The way they were treated, and there's hypocrites in the church, and they're right, okay? But church has nothing to do with God. Trust me when I tell you, they're just people. All right, so don't leave God and don't leave your faith because you've had bad experiences in the churches.
I don't think I've ever heard a more true statement in my life. Because
the truth.
you don't need to be in church to talk to God.
That's right.
You can do it on Facebook. You can do it when you're in the bathroom shaving.
That's right. It don't matter.
God is with you, and it's your relationship with God that's important.
That's right.
Okay? My relationship with God is going to be different than yours.
Yes, and it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's what my pastor in North Carolina, a guy named Kyle Thompson. And by the way, if you're watching, Kyle, I love you and I miss you.
Hey, Kyle.
Right. What he would preach every Sunday is to make sure that your close personal relationship with God is strong. Okay.
Yep.
But it's your relationship.
Yep.
It's yours.
Yours.
And it's not going to be yours.
Nope.
And it's mine. And I don't walk around as a minister and preach to people all the time or anything like that. That's not the way I do things. If you want to have the conversation, I'll have the conversation with you. But I don't push my faith on anybody.
So I listen, I agree with you. All right, I used to have I'm going to share a couple things with you.
Sure.
So I used to have a poker league in Mercer County. I'm a poker dealer.
Okay.
Okay, I don't do it as a living anymore, but it's my passion. And it was called Ms. Night Owl Poker.
Okay.
And we were in restaurants, bars and restaurants all over Mercer County. All right, so Monday nights I had someone run games for me at the same restaurant every Monday night. And you know what I'm saying? So I used to get a lot of flack from Christians. You're in bars every night? I said, excuse me. First of all, they're free games. We weren't playing for money. They would win gift certificates to the restaurants. Second of all, do you know how many people came to know Christ through these games? I'm at Hooters one night, okay? And I go to leave. The games are over, and the young, his name was David. He was the young manager at the time there.
Okay.
Now, when you walk out of Hooters, they have the tall tables.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
He was leaning up against the window, so he was at that end of the table. He goes, Jared, come here. And I'm standing here, and two of his buddies were sitting right here. Young guys, right? Okay. And I had my phone at the time. On one side was Jesus and Elvis in heaven, and on the other side were my grandkids, right? So I just put the phone down. I didn't even know what side it was on, and it happened to be Jesus and Elvis. And one of the young guys says, wait, you're an Elvis fan? He goes, I'm the biggest Elvis fan. He was young. Okay. I cracked up. I said, okay. He runs out to his car and he brings in an Elvis gospel record, CD, and he goes, and I'm a Christian. And I go, wow, so am I. I said, what about your buddy? And he goes, nope. So I said, what's the matter? You don't believe? He goes, you know what, Jer? I used to believe, but because of church, blah, 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 blah. So I said, all right, let me ask you a question. He says, okay. And I said, do you believe Jesus existed? And he said, absolutely. I said, what'd you think about that man? And he said, he was a great man. And I said, well, I'm here to tell you something. If you believe Jesus existed and you believed he was a great man, but you don't believe he was the Son of God? And he goes, no. I said, well, then he was a hypocrite and a liar. He can't be both. He couldn't be a great man if he's not who he says he is. Okay? And he said, whoa, tell me more. And I said, I'm going to tell you one more thing. I said, the Old Testament was written, 3,000 years? How many years? Between 1,000 and 3,000 years before the New Testament, right? Yes. It was like 2,000 years before.
Great, you're testing me now. I look like the worst minister ever.
It's between 1,000 and 3,000 years
I honestly didn't realize it was that much of a time. Yeah.
Yes. Now, I said to him, how did they know? I said, and this is what I said first. I said, atheist scientists will tell you these books were written when they were written. They have facts. So they know when these books were written, and they don't believe in God, but they will tell you when they were written. I said, how could they have possibly known in the Old Testament all that time before, how the Messiah was going to die. How could they have known that? Because they say it in the Old Testament, and here he is in the New Testament, and they say how he was going to die. And he goes, I want to pray. I said, where? In your car. We go out to my car. He accepts Jesus. We get out of my car, and he runs through the parking lot. Everybody's out there smoking, taking a break. And he says, I just accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior, and if I die tonight, I'm going to heaven.
Isn't it amazing?
Hooters.
Yeah.
But this was Hooters.
Yeah.
Wait, and then I'll let you talk.
Yeah, of course.
I'm saying that for a reason. You can't save lives sitting in a church pew. And I'm not telling you not to go to church. That's not what I mean.
Oh, no, definitely. Go.
You have to be where people need you. Okay? I'm just putting that out there, guys.
Absolutely.
All right, go ahead.
Absolutely. I could never agree with something any more than that. You
know?
have to be where you're needed.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. And what you take out of it is this a self-love, right? And when you can be there, I don't care if it's a shoulder to cry on. Maybe it's you have some fries at the bottom of your Wendy's bag or something like that, and you see somebody
Yes.
starving.
Yes.
And you're just like, here, you know what I mean? It's just like, right? You know what it does? Sometimes you just see that smile on somebody's face, right? And it'll motivate you to do it again. And maybe you motivate that person to do something, and it's so simplistic, right? But it's effective. It's effective. Don't only think about
very
yourself.
effective.
Think, when you think about others, it'll come back to you. It will absolutely come back to
Right.
you.
Yes.
And don't ever worry about the people that are going to try to bring you down, because they are going to be there no matter what. They're going to attack your faith. They're going to attack everything about you. Maybe your looks or something like this. You know what? Those are miserable people. You know what they need?
Who cares?
They need God worse than I do at that point.
That's
You
right.
know what I mean? That's all.
Elvis once said that Jesus was the most perfect man, and he was the most hated and the most crucified.
Who does that
And-
sound like?
Okay? So Elvis said that, and
Yeah.
he's right. So think about that. If they could have done this to Jesus Christ, why wouldn't they do it to us?
I mean, look at what the last 8 years has entailed to one person in particular, okay? And now he's sitting at the pinnacle of his entire life and career,
Okay?
right? And we're all here to take the ride and hopefully the benefits of it.
Yes.
And in no way, shape, or form am I comparing the president of the United States to Jesus.
Oh, no,
That
no,
I
no,
am not
no.
doing that.
No,
Okay,
no.
but what I'm saying is, my
No.
point about
God's
people
using him.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No.
We're all tools.
Yep.
We're all tools of God one way or another. It's kind of, what do they say? When God calls, don't have the answering
That's right.
machine on. You know what I
right.
mean? So-
How about that one they showed this on, and I'm sure you've probably seen it. A homeless man dressed horrendously, dirty, smelly, goes into church, sits in the back, and everybody moves away from him. The pastor gets up there and says thank you all for coming. This is my last day here. I want to introduce the new pastor. And the homeless guy gets up and goes up to the front.
That's fantastic.
Okay, it's fantastic.
That's-
And he
I
said,
love it.
we need to change things in this church today, he said.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's
How cool
fantastic.
Is that?
I've never seen that.
Yeah,
That's a great story.
Oh my gosh.
That's a great story.
Google it in your words, it'll come up.
I'll be watching it
All right.
before I get to the car.
It's so cool.
Yeah,
All right?
before I get
Yes,
to the car.
yes, yes.
Absolutely.
So,
I've always had my basic religion growing up. I was always involved in like Sunday school and all that kind of stuff.
you weren't a Catholic kid?
No.
Because I had to be.
No. I was baptized a Reformed Protestant at the Dutch Reformed Church in Brooklyn,
Okay.
right? And then we moved on to the Middletown Reformed Church. And then as you become a teenager, you really don't want to go to church anymore. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And not that you rebelled, you just stopped
we
going.
But we did
you know?
rebel, and it was okay.
There was a point
Yes.
where I'd rather watch Sunday Sports Center.
But
than I
that's
wanted to
because
be in
we were
church.
kids, and we
Yeah.
all did it.
Yeah, but I still always had my
Yes.
faith. Okay?
Yes.
And then I moved to a little town in North Carolina called Chapel Hill. I still never went to church.
Imagine that.
Right? I got myself in a little bit of fiscal trouble when I was in Chapel Hill. It's a college town, and I just was reliving college years at a way too late a time in my, And I had another very good, really good friend who lived outside Charlotte in a town called Matthews.
Okay.
And he was, a God-fearing Christian himself, and him and his mother, as a matter of fact, were tired of hearing my struggles.
Tired of it.
Literally came to Chapel Hill, which is 3 hours away,
Okay.
picked me up, Me and my German Shepherd took me
Okay.
and I lived with them for 6 months.
Oh.
Okay, they're like, we're going to get you on your feet,
Oh, when you
And,
said, I thought you meant the opposite. Okay, this is good.
right? We're going to get you on your feet. On the way down to Matthews, south of Charlotte, I was informed you will be going to church every Sunday. And I got to be honest with you, I was peeved. Don't force God on me. Don't, like, you know what I mean? Just like, luckily I walked into this place. Did you ever just walk? It doesn't matter where. It's a supermarket, a restaurant, a church. Thank God it was a church. This happened. You walked in. You didn't even have to meet a soul at this point, and something just felt right.
I know what you're talking
Okay?
about.
This is the Sharon United Methodist Church in South Park, Charlotte. And at that point, I come to meet the two pastors, and I'll tell you what. The following week, they would have two services. They had a very traditional service and more of a modern type service. And my friend's family would always go to the modern service. Okay, I fell so in love with this place that I used to go there for both services. I would go there 2 hours before the family did. And Kyle Thompson, love you, became my motivation when I came back to New Jersey. The church has since been knocked down and rebuilt into this huge mixed development type of place. It's beautiful modern place with there's a modern church in there, and there's and it's built upon it's across the street from the South Park Mall. And
Same pastors, though?
The associate pastor is different.
Okay.
The head pastor Kyle is still there,
Okay,
and
good.
he's just a younger guy. He used to do things that were a little bit like untraditional.
Okay.
But wow, did he get your attention?
That's what I love, though. I do love that.
Did he get your attention?
Okay.
And when I came back to New Jersey, I went back in the funeral direction, and I was very disenchanted with a couple of churches in the area and what they were charging families to not even send their priest, their minister, or any, to do like afternoon visitation services.
Uh-huh.
They would charge an obnoxious amount of money. And they'd send and they would send a deacon.
Uh-huh.
So I came up with the idea to become ordained.
Okay.
And I talked to Kyle about it, and I had his full support. Became ordained, and at this point now, families that didn't have a church affiliation but wanted some sort of a religious service didn't have to go and pay this obnoxious, our family isn't a part of your church fee,
I hate
right?
it.
And it was they didn't have to pay me. I've never taken a dime in the name of God once in my life, not once. Okay, I was already being paid by the funeral home. I was already there. There's no reason why these people needed to pay any more money for something like that. So it gave them an option. That's why I
Well,
decided
God
to do
bless
that.
you then, man.
And in the meantime, now since then, I've had the opportunity to weddings, baptisms. I'm not a counselor on any level. You can bend my ear until it's over. I'll just never give you advice on what to do.
I
need to
am.
be
You
professional,
could call me for that.
That'll be my referral from now on. Talk to Jerry. But I mean, as far as if you need an ear to bend, I'm there for you.
So I want to share something with you, and then I want to read some of my Jesus poem, okay?
Sure.
So when my dad was in hospice in Robert Wood Johnson, a priest walks in, okay? And he says, "Hi, I'm here. I'd like to pray for your father." I said, "Oh," say his thing said, "Father Joe."
Okay.
I said, "Oh, Joe, please sit down. I want to talk to you first." So he sits down, my mouth to God's ears, guys. I did this, okay? I grab a chair, I put it right in front of him. I'm staring him in his eyes. Our knees are touching.
Mhm.
So I said, the Bible says, we only have really one Father, our Heavenly Father, and our earthly Father. I don't feel comfortable calling priests Father. Why are you comfortable with people calling you Father? Do you know the Bible? Were you ever really saved? Would you like me to pray for you? He stands up, he says, "Have a good day," and he walks out. Okay, so I went to Catholic school growing up in New York, Long Island City, New York. My dad moved us to New Jersey, Robbinsville, when I was 12. My brother was 14. And we begged them not to send us back to Catholic church, so they didn't. Okay, my mother was totally fine with that. I was probably in 4th grade when we made our confirmation. Back then, you made your communion and confirmation very early. And I remember, I will never forget this ever. I come home and I say, "Mommy, why do I have to tell that strange man in that dark room on my knees and I'm scared that I'm bad?" Because that's the confessional booth we had to go into. They had to teach us
Yeah.
how to do it.
See, I never had to do that,
Bless
so I don't
me,
realize
Father,
the
for I
the
have
intimidation to it,
sinned.
Yeah.
Okay? And I said, "Mommy, why can't I just go to God?" And she said, "You can."
Of course you can. Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. Okay? So I left the Catholic Church, obviously, when I was very young and thought I need to know the right answers. So I started reading the Bible. I spoke to a rabbi, a priest, pastors, and I got the answers. You do not need any religion. You need a relationship with God.
There it is.
Period. So I want to read some of the poem I wrote, Christianity and Jesus. I'm going to mix and match, just grab
Sure,
some stuff because it's way too long. But so I'm just going to read some stuff out of it.
Sure.
Guys, listen. I'm not that person that walks into a room and starts preaching, but I am that person who will always say, if I sense something, if you want to ever talk about God or you need prayer, please call me. I'm here. That's what I do. I leave the door open for that. Okay? So if you are struggling with your faith, if you are struggling, is God real? Is Jesus real? You can reach out to us. All right? You can reach out to me. I'll get in touch with this guy.
Absolutely.
All right?
Absolutely.
So, okay, here we go. So many religions have surfaced today. Most of us wonder which one's the right way. Being brought up Catholic, I wasn't a fan. I always struggled with listening to man. I wasn't buying the crap that they said. My salvation's in Jesus through his blood he shed, not sacraments and giving cash, confessional boots and Wednesday's ash. These rules they speak of are all man-made. If you open the Bible, man's words will fade. You can't find them in there because God said it clear. You won't work your way into heaven, my dear. Most big religions have put God away. They want your alliance and what you can pay. With Jesus nailed upon that cross before his last breath he took, his words were spoken for us to hear. It is finished, and left us his book. I tell you the truth, there's only one God. When you take your last breath, he'll greet you and nod. I hope you are ready to meet him that day. Want to hear him say, well done, instead of casting you away. My works are just worthless. I'd end up in hell. That's why he sent Jesus. Now in heaven I dwell. I'm not ashamed to proclaim his name. I'm not ashamed. It's God I claim. The world stirs hate, but God stirs love. The world's lost faith is found up above. The world says God's a myth. The world says God is fake. God says I'm really here, and God says I'm no mistake. God says, listen, I'm here for you. You come to me, I'll make you new. Religion is false as can be, was made by man and not by he. Religion still has God nailed to that cross, making you think the church is your boss. When Jesus said it is finished, they took him off that cross. He rose from the dead so your soul wasn't lost. He no longer dangles on the cross from that day. He's free from that cross. Jesus now made the way. We wear a cross because we're his kid, to be reminded what this man did. But the crucifix should not be worn. Religion keeps God on the cross and scorn. Man made rules to cost a fee. The price of Jesus to you is free. I'll protect you and guide you as long as you want. Tell me your sorrows, I'm your confidant. I'm your heavenly father, you're my earthly kid. There was a price on you to the highest of bid. It was then that I marked you and said you were mine. I knew at that moment you were made to shine. I'll never put rules on the way you should live. I gave you free will. From my life I did give.
These are all your words.
These are my words. Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on. Okay, let's see. Self-righteous will perish. I won't call them home. Stay humble and loyal. In heaven you'll roam. I can't come to you till you let me in. I'll open my arms and I'll cleanse your sin. Father God, I do thank you for sending your son to shed his blood for me. Then he said it was done. He said it is finished. Now listen to me. He never said religion would now set you free. Remember, religion was not in his plan when God sent his son to live as a man. The Pharisees and priests were not living right. They judge and condemn, and religion would fight. God said, enough, I'm sending you my kid to teach you to love, exposing sins you hid. When Jesus took up the cross, he died on it for you. You now need to accept him so he can make you new. Ask him to take over because you are way too weak. I promise strength he'll give you if only Jesus you seek. Will you be ready the day he returns, or left behind to feel the burns? My prayer is this, that you take heed to know the reason Jesus did bleed. The time is near, it really is. Will you be ready to say you're his? So.
You had touched on something earlier, and you really kind of came around on that at the very end of that as well, too. You were talking about that the gentleman that went out to your car to pray, right?
Hooters.
And he... Okay, and you remember that wasn't even your coming to Jesus moment.
No.
Okay, but isn't it amazing? We all have one.
We do.
And we all, and it's very individual. Does it ever happen inside a church? Because, like I said, before I walked
all right.
into that church,
wait.
I always had my religion.
It might happen inside a church because I've
It may,
seen,
but
seen
you
that
never hear
too.
that story,
Like,
though,
like
you know?
but like that guy that was in drag in the back of the church. I believe the church brought. That's what did it for him. But,
Okay.
So there are moments, but for the most part, no.
Yeah. I was out in Charlotte with my buddy that had taken me in for those 6 months, and he was working fueling airplanes at Charlotte Airport at one point or another. And Charlotte has this really unique thing at the base of one of their runways. You can actually park your car there and just watch the planes land. You're like right on top of it at that point. And I think we were waiting for his daughter was up here in New Jersey, and that's what it was. And we were waiting for her flight to come in, and we went there earlier so we could just sit there and wait. And he just started to tear up as he was watching the planes land, and again, always had come from a religious family in the whole nine, but his big coming to Jesus moment happened to him on the tarmac. He was out there one day when he gave his life over to God at that point, and you could see him reliving that when he was in the car, like looking out there, and he's like, that's where it all happened for him. And he started telling the story, and that was just, it's amazing because everybody's got the story. Not many people they tell it because it's usually a very personal story a lot of times too. But to see that the passion from somebody you care about, and to be able to hear what it really did to him, and see what his life had become because of that moment, right? And that he'll never forget that. He knew exactly where he was. He knew the moment, everything about it, and it was as clear as anything in his life because that's when his life became clear.
So I accepted the Lord in a church with my aunt. I was pregnant with my daughter, so I was 20 years old. But again,
Was it a Catholic church? Or?
No. Remember, I left the church. I was a kid and knew that wasn't right.
Mm-hmm.
But then, of course, like you, I went straight, this and that. Then I got divorced. Then I did drugs, blah, 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 blah. Guess what my final moment was? Okay, and I actually closed 2024 out with this show, How God and Elvis Saved My Life.
Okay.
And everybody that knows me knows I'm a huge Elvis fan, but they think it was his music. Well, in a sense, it was because it brought me to what I'm going to tell you. So I had a beauty salon back in the day, 80s and 90s, and I was making way too much money being too young. And I had a 1990 Eldorado black and gold Cadillac with Elvis license plates. Okay? My clientele were very wealthy Jewish women in Mercer County, and one of them was the municipal court judge. I'm not going to say her name. She was the boss of all the judges. She's still in my life. And I used to go to the courthouse in that flashy car with the Elvis license plates often to have lunch with her.
Mm-hmm.
One night, copping heroin with a girlfriend in Trenton, New Jersey at 1 o'clock in the morning in that car. Young black drug dealer comes out. He says, I don't have your dope here. We got to go 2 blocks. Imagine this. Gets in the back of my car. We go 2 blocks. He gets out, gets the heroin, gets in. We're being followed by an unmarked police car who recognized my Elvis license plates and knew I was a friend of the judge. He called her in the middle of the night.
Ooh.
Now, don't tell me God didn't do this. Pulls us over. He says, Jerry, Judge so-and-so said, get this guy out of your car. Get the drugs out of your car. Go home, get some rest, and get some help. That was it for me. She never brought that up to me again. We finally went out to lunch pre-COVID a few years ago, and we talked about it. Okay?
Wow.
Now, don't tell me God did not use Elvis to help save my life that night.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I didn't have those Elvis license plates...
A lot of things God had working for you that night,
right.
I'll tell you.
If I didn't have...
a lot of things.
That's right. If I didn't have those license plates, he wouldn't have recognized it and knew it was me. I would have been in jail.
Yeah.
Okay? So... Yes.
And that would have done no good for anybody.
That's right.
Think about all the people you've helped since then, and it's...
Okay. God, listen, this is what I think, and you're a minister, so tell me what you think of what I'm going to say right now. Because a lot of people say, well, how come he let that bad thing happen, and how come it didn't happen for me, and blah, 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 blah. I believe 100% God already knows your heart, and he knows your intentions.
Mm-hmm.
So he will use that to help you get wherever you have to go to worship him and to do his job. That's why some people, he already knows, they're not going to change. They're not going to, am I wrong?
I look at it a little bit differently.
Okay, tell me.
Okay, it's so hard to put this kind of stuff into words sometimes because everybody, oh, you're never going to find a human being on this planet that never asked, why did God do this? Why did God do that?
Right.
It's always going to happen.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is, if things aren't terribly bad for you and you can actually think properly in the moment, okay, the answer is there's no answer. That, it's God's will. One way or another, it's his will.
But don't you think
He
it's
gave you and me the opportunity
free
to
will.
have. He gave us the opportunity to do things like be in front of this microphone to reach other people.
Yes.
Okay. And he's given you the ability to have people like me here and to be able to reach other people. Okay. That's what he's doing for you.
But that's our free will that want to do it.
But he gave you the ability to
No,
to
yes.
think that way.
I don't mean
you know
that.
what I mean? It's just a
Obviously.
little bit deep.
But
You know what I mean?
some people won't accept it from him,
And,
and that's free will.
And I got to be honest with you. Those are the people I just feel bad for.
No, me too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, all right, I'll give you an example.
You can't force faith.
No, you
It's
can't.
either in your heart or it's not.
Right.
You know?
And like people will say to me, all right, I don't judge anyone, guys. That's me. I don't care. And I won't. Not even prostitutes. Because they were probably raped by a father or an uncle. Nobody grows up saying, I want to be a prostitute. There's reasons why people are on these paths. So don't judge them. Try to help them. Okay? And they probably have a little child at home that they're trying to feed. But I always say, like, when people say things like that to me, I'm like, but God has opened the door for everybody. You have to go to him and say, I want to do it.
Absolutely.
That's what's hard here. I guess, we're all going to have questions for God. We're all going to have questions for God when we meet him,
Of course.
Of
course. I can't believe I'm bringing this up.
Bring it up.
It's semi-serious. In 1983, I believe, the movie Poltergeist came out.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
Now and I'm 8 years old. Formidable years. This is before, like, as I was getting into horror movies.
I don't like horror.
Oh God, I'm tattooed with all the serial
no,
killers.
I hate
movies,
it.
Right? And there was a point in the movie where Robbie and his mom were next to the parapsychologist, and it's late night. They got the TV going because they can hear Carol Ann, And the kid's afraid and he's confused and all this kind of stuff. And the parapsychologist starts talking to him about something. I don't know why this always stuck with me as a child. It stuck with me my entire life.
Okay.
She says to him, when you die, people believe that there's a great light. All right. And inside that light are all the answers to all the questions you've ever had in your entire life.
Okay.
Okay. And when you die, you go through that light, right? And you become a part of it. Okay. I mean, yes, I've always wanted to believe that. Whether that's accurate or not, we're not going to know until our time comes.
That's right.
Okay. But that's what faith is about. Okay.
Yes.
I believe this. Okay.
Right.
And I'm not looking forward to dying. I'm looking forward to having all the answers to the questions that I don't have now.
Me too.
Okay, you know what I mean?
People,
Right?
right.
But I gotta, I'm gonna walk through that light and find out if OJ really did it or
Okay,
not.
okay.
You know what I mean? But but I have come to the point now in my life where I let those things go. If I don't know the answer now, one day I will.
Yes.
I remember the moment I was sitting next to my father the moment that he died.
I was too.
All right, and my first feeling was relief.
Me too.
And I couldn't explain. And I started feeling guilty because it was relief.
No, don't feel guilty.
Right? And my first thought was, it's over. It's finally over. And then I thought I was almost jealous of him. Not because he was gone.
No, I get it.
But because now
He met God.
he never had to ask a question again.
Okay,
in his
and
life,
he's not
ever.
suffering, and he
Yeah,
met God.
forever. He never, right?
Okay.
No suffering.
Right.
He's gonna, no matter what, he's with me
Right.
forever. And then obviously, you get into your, your depression, and you get into, and you're
course.
grieving, and
Of
it's
course.
it's 18 and a half years later. I've still never gotten over it. And even my mother even mentioned that to my new girlfriend. And when I'm thinking my mother is out of things and everything, she actually picked up the phone, called Brittany, and told him, "You be careful with Michael. He's still grieving his father."
Oh.
And I never knew she realized that, especially in my mother's state, And Brittany told me that, and I literally hit the floor crying because
Wow.
it's true. But boy, did I get off topic there for a moment.
that's
That
beautiful.
moment, there
That's
was
beautiful.
and it all because of some dumb quote in Poltergeist. You know what I mean? And it's just amazing how these things just stick with you.
When my dad was in hospice, okay, in Hamilton Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
The Italians, his family from New York, they were very loud. They would come and visit him.
Okay.
Okay, he was in hospice for 4 or 5 days, and I stayed the whole time. And this particular day was July 19th, his birthday. Now, he was out of it, and I'm whispering in his ear, and I said, Dad, wouldn't it be amazing if you met Jesus on your birthday today? Because you were such an amazing father that I know the day you die has to be significant. Wouldn't you want to go meet Jesus today as the most incredible birthday gift you could ever have? So he didn't die that day.
Okay.
Okay. So the next day, all the Italians come. His sister says, Papa here died today, 40 years ago, my dad's father. But they make things up, too. Italians make things up, okay? So we didn't really know if that was really true. I didn't remember, blah, blah. I was a kid, blah, blah, blah. So we're listening to her, and she says, Papa, he died today, 40 years ago today. Well, my father took his last breath that day, on the day supposedly his father died 40 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
When I got home that night, of course, we also have to have all the cards from everybody that died. You know what I'm saying? So I went into that box and
I've got one.
okay, 'cause my mother made us have them all.
Yep, I've
so
got every prayer card of every person I've ever known that died.
okay, so I open up the box and there I find my grandmother and my grandfather. Not only did my grandfather die that day, 40 years ago, my father died almost the same time as his own father. Tell me that wasn't incredible.
Yeah.
Okay?
Again, I don't believe in coincidence. I believe things happen for a reason.
Right.
So we're going to go back to January of 2013.
Okay.
It was Super Bowl Sunday. Okay. So it was Saturday going into Sunday. And I
Okay.
had an apartment in Chapel Hill. A buddy of mine was a bartender. Right. And really liberal owners to the place. So, like, you'd be there all night long. Don't care. Leave the money for the beer you drank and we'll walk home.
Okay.
Right. It's daylight. We're walking home.
Okay.
Okay. And my buddy had been staying with me. You have a FedEx at the house, right? I'm like, oh, okay. He says, just don't forget about the FedEx. Because we're hammered trying to walk home, right? It's like, less than a mile, but, but it's Chapel Hill, We get to the apartment, I'm like, oh, yeah, I forgot, I got the FedEx, right? So I go in, and it's a New Jersey Devils T-shirt,
Okay.
right? That says Uncle Mike and the number 13. That was my brother's way of telling me he was about to have a son or daughter. He was telling me that him and his wife were pregnant.
Oh.
Okay. So this was Super Bowl Sunday.
That's so cool.
Right. So I go charging out of the house. I'm yelling and screaming. Yeah. 6:30 in the morning. Okay.
Drunk.
Actually, maybe hammered. We're not talking drunk.
6:30 in the morning,
As
guys.
loud as could be. Police pull up. Right. Right. So the guy, police comes up. The police officer comes up. And he's like, and he knows I'm not college age. He knows I'm a little bit older than that, so I'm not going to get the whole,
Right.
I'm not going to get into trouble because I'm a kid
Right.
type of thing,
And you're not in a car.
No. He's like, is everything okay? Everything is great. I'm going to be an uncle. I just found out. That's great. Get your A back in the house.
Yeah.
Right? So I do.
You could say ass. Ass is the word you could say. It's in the Bible.
Okay, all right.
There you go.
You open up a can of worms. You let me do
No,
that.
I don't say it. Don't say it.
Right, so I go back in the house, and now I'm reading. There's a picture of his wife's sonogram and everything, and I'm reading in the like when he's due September 1st, my parents' anniversary. September 2nd was my dad's birthday.
Okay.
Okay. Now, and Bill, if you're listening, I'm not saying anything disparaging here. I'm just telling the truth on my level. Okay. My brother married a Jehovah's Witness.
Okay.
She's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful
Yes.
girl. Not something that I agree in the
With the
religion.
religion,
But it makes things like birthdays and holidays very difficult.
Okay.
And I have not handled that level of their relationship very well.
Okay.
Okay. And that's just truth be told. Now, remember, my father had been gone now for about 7 years at this
Okay.
point. From that moment on January, it was the 49ers and the Ravens that were playing that night. I'll never forget. It was the Super Bowl when the blackout happened.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
And I remember from the moment I saw she was due September 1st, I prayed, let this kid be 24 hours late. Let this kid be 24 hours late. I wanted to reclaim September 2nd so bad. Guess when he was born?
Yes, September 2nd.
He was born September 2nd.
See? Isn't that beautiful?
It's don't you tell me prayer doesn't work. Don't
Nobody's
you tell
going to
me.
ever tell me that.
And I look at my nephew every time I look at this beautiful kid, He never got a chance to meet his paternal grandfather.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, but somehow they're connected forever. They're connected
That's
forever, and
beautiful.
it's amazing.
That's
It is
beautiful.
amazing. It's yeah, that kid he's the reason I get up out of bed a lot of times. You know what I
That's
mean?
beautiful.
Just knowing what Shane is doing next.
Right.
Love you, buddy.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I love that story. I absolutely love
That's
that
cool.
story. I love that story.
I have an angel story. So a lot of people say, when people tell these kind of stories, a lot of people say, yeah, right, you're right. Well, I'm here to tell you, yeah, right. Okay? Um, so my dad had Alzheimer's, and my brother and I would take him out in the beginning stages to get something to eat every day. We took care of him. We kept him home. We had a lot of help, so it was beautiful. God blessed us with that. So anyway, we had a rental property for my daughter in Hamilton Township, but right on the cusp of Trenton. And it's the Hamilton Township building. The outside of the building is huge white stone and pillars. It's beautiful.
Okay.
Okay? But it's not in a great area. So my brother said, come on, let's go pay Tiffany, my daughter's taxes. We'll take Dad to get something to eat. So he pulls into the parking lot, and he says to me, now go right in that door. And he says, the elevator is right there. He goes, I'm going to wait right here for you. You go up 3 flights, and you'll see, and you go, and you can pay, and come right back down, and I'm here. Okay, I was fine. I go in, and there's a black elderly gentleman security guard with a desk. And he goes, hey, sweet pea. And I go, hey, sweet pea. And he goes, sign my book, sweetie. So I signed the book. And behind me walks in 2 white young thugs. And they come in, and he comes from around his desk, and he says, sign my book now. They look at him, they look at each other, they look at me, and they did that probably 3 times. And then they sign the book, and then they go. He brings me over to the elevator door, and he says, all right, sweetie, now listen, I'm going to wait right here for you. You only have to go up 3 flights, and you'll see the signs and blah, 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 and never bring cash in this building. I said, okay. So I go do it. I come down, I give him a hug, I go. I tell my brother about my new friend. 3 months later, my brother says, come on, let's go bring Dad out again. We'll go pay the taxes, and you can see your buddy. So I go, he's there. Hey, sweet pea. Gives me a hug, sign a book. I go up, I come down, I leave. 3 months later, my brother says, let's go do it again. And I walk in, and there's no desk, and there's no security guard. So I go upstairs, and I say, hey, did my buddy, my security guard buddy, retire? What's security guard buddy? Oh, the gentleman, my mouth to God's ears, the gentleman that worked downstairs. We don't have a security guard here. I said, yeah, the black gentleman, the elderly, and we don't have a black elderly gentleman that ever worked in this building. I said, all right. So I do what I have to do, and then I go over to another desk, and I go, listen, is Jim here? I knew a lot of the workers in the building, and they're like, yeah. I said, tell him Geri Petito's here. I just want to say hi. So he comes out, hey, Jer. I go, listen, I have to talk to you. And I tell him the story, and he goes, come here, let me bring you down there. Brings me down there, and I have photos in my phone if you want to see him when we're done. And he says,
Show your listeners. Tell me there's not goosebumps on me right
yes. And he says, Jared, you can't even fit a desk in here. And I said, you're right. And he said, that was your angel. He saved your life that day. And God allowed me to see him twice.
Mm-hmm.
So then I meet another guy who retired, who was in that building for close to 50 years. And I tell him the story, and he said, Jer, he saved your life that day. That was your angel. Yep.
That's amazing.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Okay.
You saw that.
Yep.
There was no BS involved.
I
literally have goosebumps.
I have more stories,
Mhm.
but that one is one of the most unbelievable to me.
It literally
Okay.
speechless. That's amazing.
Okay.
That's amazing.
Yep.
That is just absolutely amazing.
So I went back to that building 2 other times with friends. We searched the whole entire building. I got photos of that room and
Nothing.
Crazy, right?
That's unbelievable. I can't wait to go home and tell that story
Okay.
to Brittany. I really can't.
Yeah, Brittany will see it on here.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hi,
she should
Brittany.
be watching. She should
Yeah.
be
Hi,
watching.
Brittany.
Yeah, I'm dating out of my league at this point right now, so I'm pretty lucky. I'm pretty lucky to be honest with you. So she didn't pay me to say that.
So, do you have any stories like that?
Like that?
Well,
Oof.
I mean, any, you know.
Wow. No, a lot of things that can be rendered coincidence. Like I had my father's father died 6 months before I was born, so I never actually met him.
Okay.
But I still had two grandfathers because my cousin's grandfather was always Grandpa Camilleri. Mr. C. That was
Okay.
my grandfather. He died December 20th, 1984.
Okay.
All right. My grandfather died December 20th, 1987.
See that?
Right. They were both buried on Christmas Eve.
This is craziness, right?
You know
This
what I mean?
stuff.
They literally, they both died the same day, 3 years apart, and were both buried on Christmas Eve. Right. Somehow my family still finds a way to be able to celebrate the holiday for what it's worth. Because if there's anybody out there that has an excuse not to, it would be my family. You know what I mean? But so I don't know. It's just life-saving stories, things like that. You know what I mean? There are probably too many to tell.
Right.
You know, but to be honest with you, nothing that stands out that would be as entertaining as that story.
Well,
So that would be anything I would tell would be a letdown. I'll tell you.
I'll tell you about me writing this book, okay? So, in 2016, I get woken up, and it's not the first time that God woke me up, and I felt this. I open my eyes, and I hear, write your book. And I giggle, and I say, okay, Lord, you want me to write my book? And I hear, write your book. Okay? So, my dad was still alive, and I used to fast 30 days once a year for health, okay? So I called my brother and my daughter. I didn't tell them I was writing a book, and I said, I'm going to be home for a month fasting, take care of Dad. Okay. Well, the book was written not this big. I revised it in 2020. It was half the size. The book was written in 3 weeks. God wrote the book. I hand wrote this book. Back in the day, I had poems published, and you could write them. You could write the poem and mail it to publishers back then, way back. So I hand wrote the book, and I'm laughing, and I'm like, now what do I do with this? Okay? So I called my brother, and I said, so I wrote a book. He goes, you wrote a book. I said, yeah, I don't know why, but God told me to write a book. And I hand wrote it. And he goes, and you hand wrote it. So I call a friend of mine whose uncle was a publisher back in the day. He's gone. She came to my house that weekend and got the whole thing on the computer in the right format. She knew what to do. And she says to me, we're going to send it to about 20 publishers. They may like it, they may not. It could take years. I said, no, I heard Simon & Schuster. No. She laughed. She said, all right, we're only sending it to Simon & Schuster. I said, yeah, and have your name and number on it as well so you could be in contact with me in case they ask me technical questions. 5 days later, a woman from Simon & Schuster, I believe she was a Christian woman, we're on a three-way, and she said, we love your book and we're publishing it. It was that quick, okay?
Wow.
Now, I still didn't know at that moment why I had to write the book. So the book is now out there. I'm waiting for my shipment of books. So this all happened within 3 months. I'm waiting for my shipment, and my cousin calls me, my gay cousin who grew up with me, who was young when I went through what I went through. We lived next door to each other. His dad and my dad were brothers. Never left my side. Okay, forget it. He's mentioned in the very beginning of here. So anyway, he felt the need to move to Florida because he was gay and to be with his friends and all that, to be accepted. So he calls me up one day and he says, hey, I'm taking the son. Read me some of your book. I'm like, okay. Now, in the meantime, my cousins are all sending me photos of them already holding my book. I didn't get my shipment yet, but they got my book.
They've already got theirs. Nice. All right.
I'm reading some stuff to him. I don't know, whatever. And I said, listen, you're the very first book I'm going to be signing. So text me your new address, and you're going to get the first signed book from me. 2 days go by, and I get my books. I text his phone. I need your address. I just got my books. I'm signing you your first book. His sister messages me back. She lives on my road in Robbinsville, and she's younger than him. She's a lawyer now. And she said, they call me John. John, I'm with Michael. I have his phone. We need you tonight. He lost his mind. Crystal meth. So the whole time he was taking the son, he's doing crystal meth while I'm talking to him, and he's asking me about stuff that's in my book. We didn't know it. He was doing it for 10 years. Okay, and that's like the gay drugs, supposedly, right? That's what that is. So,
Wow.
long story short, that's why God told me I had to write my book when I did. If I didn't write this book, they wouldn't have known I could help him.
There you go.
So I showed up at her house that night. She got him from Florida. Long story short, I brought him to Princeton House, where I went back in the day,
Okay.
and got him in the rehab, and he's doing fine. And this was in 2016. This book was written for another family member as well. That's a different story. He's doing fine as well. And I can't tell you how many people God allowed this book to help.
Numbers are great.
Okay.
All you really need to the one person is amazing.
Okay.
The fact that you've been able to help multiple people.
But when he said, write the book, I listened. And that's what I want to say to you guys. When you hear a voice, when you hear something, when you sense something, don't blow it off. That's God talking to you. Please listen.
Unless you're in my house. Okay? Because if you're in my house, and I wish Brittany was here to tell you this kind of stuff, right?
Well, you have all that craziness on your arms. Ah!
Well, I'll tell you what. When Brittany and I actually moved in together a couple months ago, I told her, I'm like, look, do anything you want in the entire house, okay? Just let me have my say in the kitchen, and I want that hallway. All right?
Hallway.
The hallway. That's all I asked for was the hallway. If you go down my hallway right now, I have floating candles throughout the entire hallway, okay? A Michael Myers mask from every Halloween.
No!
Every one of them. Some of them are signed. Jason Voorhees masks that I have signed at different horror conventions. Me and pictures of celebrities from.
Yeah, I have you with Fonzie.
Yeah, well, do you know why I got that? Okay. Listen, we all remember Happy Days. Don't get me
Right.
wrong. But I had him sign a Scream mask because remember he was the principal in the original Scream.
Oh, I didn't.
So he was at a horror convention.
I
That's
didn't
how I met him.
remember that.
Yeah, he was the principal in the first Scream.
Because oh wow, I got to meet Donnie Most.
Okay.
I interviewed him, and
Okay. You've told me
yeah,
about it.
all that. I love Happy, but I didn't know that about him.
Yeah, he was the principal in the original Scream.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And yeah, so that was my picture with Henry Winkler signing a
my
ghost
gosh,
face mask.
okay.
Yeah, that's hanging in my hallway as well. All right. My neighbor just gave me an autographed hockey jersey from it's a Jason Voorhees jersey.
Okay.
Okay, but it's autographed by the original Jason who played Jason in Friday the 13th Part 2.
Okay.
All right, so that's going into a shadow box, and that'll be put on the wall there too. Yeah, so I got the entire hallway. But what I was getting to is, okay, Brittany is somebody I've actually known for about 35 years.
Okay.
Okay, she was my mother's best friend's daughter.
Okay.
Okay, I met her at her christening. Honestly, I babysat this child, and I tortured this girl as a kid. Okay, I'm 13 years older than her, 14 years older than her. And I'd run around the house in Michael Myers masks just trying to scare the ever-loving heck out of her, okay? But it turned her on to horror movies, too. And I had this, this part-time job that I actually had her hired at. I was working at one of those haunted, like, hayride type of place. It was like 13 attractions that you walk through and whatever. So now if you come into my house, I have, like, little sinister children in places that I'll just kind of hide.
No!
I'll hide in corners. She is so numb to this, she doesn't even jump anymore. Okay, she doesn't even jump anymore. So if you hear voices in my house, you might want to ignore it. You might want to ignore it. Yeah.
So I cannot believe how time is flying. Look what
Yeah.
How did we? This is crazy.
You're fun. You're
No,
fun.
but I'm
It's what
saying,
it's what
no,
happens
I'm
when you have
saying
fun.
I can't believe
Yeah.
how much we've already talked.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when Jamie and I have our podcast going, we'll look down and go, doing this for 2 hours
Right.
already?
This is so crazy.
Goodness.
So, all
We
right.
don't have commercial breaks.
So
It's-
we've
it's-
got a good 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I have one more show after you tonight.
Okay.
So we have a good 10 minutes. So now I want you to look into the camera,
Okay.
and I want you to say anything that you want to say as far as how people can reach out to you, all that good stuff, whatever you
My
want.
way or the way you're telling me I can?
No,
Okay.
no, not your way. But listen, I also, if you have anything that you said in your head, oh, I want to make sure I say this on the show, now's your time.
Oof. I don't listen. I mean, everybody's story is going to be complete. Is going to be different.
Yeah.
Just because your story is different than somebody else's doesn't make it wrong.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it right either. Okay?
Okay.
Your story is your story. Stay stay your course, be you. Okay. We're taught in most organized religions that uh, you're made in God's vision, and you don't underestimate yourself. Don't question yourself. The only thing that you should be doing is trying harder to be what you want, not what somebody else wants you to be. Because the only way you're going to be effective for yourself and others is to be true to yourself. And that's something that I have struggled with my entire life. I have always been told, no matter which way I turned, whether it was from my parents, from teachers, whatever. That's why I to this day I question everything that I do, and I have to talk myself into not questioning things because I've always been told you're not good enough, or why can't you be more like that and stuff like this. No way to live through life. It's no way to live through life, and that's why I have. You asked me before about cursing in a minister and all that kind of stuff, and like you said, no matter what, I'm me. This is me. You don't like it, you can turn around and walk away because it ain't going to be me that walks away.
See, and I wanted to interview you, man.
What's that?
I said, and I wanted to interview you.
Yeah, right. It's I guess the quirkiness kind of like it pairs up. It's just nice. But as far as like trying to get a hold of me, honestly, I think that the best way you probably actually, my email is the absolute easiest way to get a hold of me. It's very, very easy. It's Rev, Michael Buhler, MichaelBuhler @yahoo.com. If anybody needs to reach out, please, just please, please, please. That email gets so much spam. Please put something in the subject line so that I know that, like, put Geri's name in the subject line.
Or radio show,
exactly.
whatever.
Give me a reason why I know. And listen, again, I'm not a counselor. I can give you an ear to bend. I can point you in the right direction. But there is actually something I would like to touch on. It's actually a group of people that my church actually used to promote. Actually, they still do. I'm 600 miles away from the church.
Right.
It's something that's very near and dear to me, something that I wish there were more organizations. If they are like this in New Jersey, I would like them to come forward. And please, if you want to get a hold of me, I'd be more than willing to be there. It's a ministry called Justice Ministries. Okay, do you know of this?
I've heard of it.
Okay, Justice Ministries. Okay, North Carolina, the Charlotte area, North Carolina is tremendous as far as human trafficking is concerned. Okay, this is an organization that helps to fight against that and to get, women, children, anybody who's actually in that scenario, out of that scenario. It is for what they do. It's dangerous work.
Yes,
It's dangerous work, but it is amazing. I haven't been active with them. Well, with that, I've been away from the church for that church for 7 years, and I don't think we did a fundraiser for them. It's probably been 10 years since I'm involved in something like that, via the church. And I want to tell you, a decade later, this is how much you still mean to me, and that when I have a forum like this to speak about you and to bring some kind of attention to it. And if there are people out there that can help, maybe even if somebody's got the means to start something to help these people out, bless you for what you do. Just bless you for what you do. And to the community at South Park Church, keep supporting these people, please. Please keep supporting them.
Well, I want to mention one of my other sponsors since you brought this up. Her
Okay.
name is Paula Ann.
Okay.
From Ablaze Entertainment and Freedom Rings Festival, helping survivors of human trafficking to live a life of normalcy. And the Geri Petito Show is also one of her sponsors. So you can go to that website, www.freedomringsfestival.com.
And if you want to hear the cursing minister,
There you
please
go.
feel free to go onto YouTube. I think it's our only channel at this point right now. Look up Bello Heart. It's BELLO Heart, HEART. And he does shows without me, obviously, but my shows would be the Bello Heart Show, starring Jamie Bello, and featuring Reverend Ferris. That would be me.
Very cool.
All right, so I hope to hear from everybody, but I hope it's all for good reasons. But if it's not for good reasons, I'm here for you. I'm here for you.
So, listen, this was so ridiculously cool. We had
So Geri, you want
wait,
to be baptized?
here we go. What? My producer wants to say something.
Hey, Pastor Mike, if you want to baptize Jerry, I got some water.
No problem. No problem. You rebaptized. You walked away from the church. We could bring you right back.
I got rebaptized in Jerusalem, honey. Listen.
Oh, like I'm supposed to touch that with a
Okay.
10-foot pole? Come on.
Did you see the photos I posted? They're up there on my Facebook.
I'll take a look.
Some memories. Me and my father in Jerusalem in 1997.
Okay.
I'm sitting in the tomb. Oh my gosh. We're standing by the tree. Jesus was crucified. Okay, it's still there. And they saw, listen, me and my dad are floating in the Sea of Galilee. My dad accepted Jesus in the tomb. And they sold us little bottles that we got to fill ourselves with the real water.
Really?
That was good.
That's
I didn't want to buy a bottle with liquid in it.
Yeah,
no,
of course.
no,
You
no.
don't know where that comes from. Do it yourself.
We got to fill the bottles.
Oh, wow.
And they're in my curio.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that really is.
All right.
That really is. If I can take a quick second, just to everybody in my life, from the greatest brother in the world to a wonderful family, to great coworkers, my family, my friends, to Brittany. Guys, your support over the years through everything that I've been through and the pain in the A that I've been. Oh, I can say ass. All right, the pain in the ass that I can be and have been my entire life. For you guys to have stuck behind me the way you have, I can't think of a better form to be able to tell the world how much I love you. Thank you.
Oh, that was beautiful. He loves you guys. Look, he's all teared up. All right. Thank you. We had a great time.
Jerry, thanks for having me.
Share this show, guys. This was so cool. And producer, take us home.
Ooh, more music?
Ladies and gentlemen, Geri Petito.
I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.
When you don't know just what to do.
Just what to do, just what to do.
If what you're feeling is really true.
Is it really true? Is it really true?
Just keep your ideas safe and sound.
Safe and sound, safe and sound.
That's exactly how change is found.
Change is found, change is found. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. And in time, this too shall pass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Geri Petito taught the class. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. Loves the answer, the greener grass. I'm not an addict, I'm just an ass. One day at a time, free at last.